Information systems are everywhere, and they affect our lives in ways many of us don't even think about. They affect our families, they affect our business life, they affect us personally. In 1986, Richard Mason conceived of a model, a way of thinking about the ethical uses of information technology. In this model, popularly known as Mason's Papa model, we are concerned with four things: privacy, accuracy, property, and access. We'll look at each one in turn. Privacy concerns how we keep information about ourselves and the technologies that support that information private. It asks the question, what information about me should be revealed? And what information about individuals whose data we are in charge of should be revealed? What are the safeguards that are in place to protect a person's privacy? Are there any safeguards at all? And what information can a person decide to keep private and confidential and not be forced to reveal to others? Privacy is probably the chief ethical concern in information systems today. We see legislation at all levels of government, from city to state to the federal government, concerning how we distribute and use information that others have given us. We are concerned, of course, about the theft of our data. When we start being concerned about privacy, one of the next things we're concerned about is the information that is stored about me, is it accurate? And that's the second of the Papa's ethical concerns. Accuracy asks the question, who's responsible for the accuracy of the data? And who's accountable or liable for inaccurate data? We all know, of course, that inaccurate data can be extremely harmful, and someone needs to be accountable to find that data and correct it. Accuracy also is concerned about the safeguards that have been established to ensure accuracy. From an information technology standpoint, we often charge our programmers with the responsibility of checking the data, providing filters and other ways to ensure the data is accurate. This isn't enough, however. We know that there are databases all around the world that contain inaccurate information, even about us. And trying to figure out where that data is and how to get it fixed can be very frustrating. Finally, we ask, what can individuals do to ensure that data stored about them, data stored about you, is accurate? Companies make decisions about whether to hire you, whether to give you a loan, whether to admit you to a particular university based upon data that you may not even know is out there. So in addition to having access to the data, which we'll talk about in a little bit, having the right to inspect it and to correct it is absolutely essential and is one of the chief ethical concerns that Richard Mason brought up. When we start talking about who's responsible for the data, it naturally leads us to the next of Papa's of the ethical decisions in Dick Mason's model, and that's property. Property asks the question, who actually owns the information? In the United States, information about you is not owned by you. Going back literally decades and decades, we have a series of case law that supports the notion that whoever collects the information is the primary owner of the information. Now, there's lots of strings attached to that, and you can't use the information to harm people, and you must provide a mechanism for truth. But the actual ownership of the data belongs to who collected it. We ask the question, who has the right to buy or acquire the information? If there's data about you that is owned by a company, do they have the right to sell your information? I think we know what happens a great deal of the time. How should access to intellectual property, that thing that makes you valuable to a company, the knowledge that's in your head, how can it be regulated? Did you sign away your rights to your intellectual property when you took your job? Finally, we ask the question, who places a value on that intellectual property? The intellectual property has a value. It has a market value. But who places a value on it? You, your company, or the person who actually owns the data about which we're talking? It brings us to the last of Dick Mason's elements, and that's access. Access answers the question, what information does a person have a right to access? What safeguards exist for information access? In other words, how can we make sure that people can get access to their data? In what is becoming known as the great digital divide, how do we guarantee equal access across social and economic groups? If information systems are available only to the wealthy or the powerful, then those who aren't wealthy or powerful won't have access to the same information and may be put into a position of being at a disadvantage because they don't have access to the data. We sometimes think about technology haves and have-nots. And in the coming years, access to information technology may be the big differentiator between success and failure. Dick Mason's 4 elements of the PAPA model have given us a way to think about the ethical issues associated with information technology.